They're giving it to the United States Air Force / Defense Department of the United States. They're not giving it to me. I made a good deal.
The transaction strikes me as being rife with political espionage, ethical and constitutional problems.
There are those that say we shouldn't be accepting gifts to the Defense Department, and I would say only a stupid person would say that. Why wouldn't we do that?
You're saying President Trump should turn down this plane?
I think he should. I think, look, others have observed there are profound issues, the potential for intelligence gathering.
Lingering questions as President Trump forges ahead with a plan to accept a $400 million jet from the government of Qatar solely for his use as an interim upgrade to Air Force One. Joining me now, Virginia Cantor, Chief Counsel for Ethics and Anti-Corruption with State Democracy Defenders Action. She is one of 3 co-authors of a New York Times op-ed headline, "A plane from Qatar? Come on, man." Virginia, thank you for being with us. You've interpreted rules related to gifts from the presidents from foreign governments when President Clinton was in office. Trump says this plane is not a personal gift to him. He often points to the plane at the Reagan Library as an example, an equivalent one. How do you see it?
Oh, there's no question that this is a personal gift to him and that he intends to use it for his personal use after the presidency. If it were a gift to the United States government, it would have to be accepted on behalf of the U.S. government, and no government official would want the responsibility of tearing apart and rebuilding a $400 million plane from Qatar. You'd have to make sure that, it's completely secure. You'd have to take apart every single, nut and bolt, and you'd have to, tear apart all of the cushings to make sure there was no listening devices. And, there's no, having been involved in deliberations on whether or not a president can accept a gift, you would only use that authority if it were somehow to be embarrassing to decline. There's no way that anybody would ever expect the president of the United States, which has, one of the most powerful and important images of Air Force One, would ever want to accept a plane from a foreign government.
Trump's crypto activities, another area of concern in your wonderfully titled op-ed. And Thursday, Trump is hosting a dinner at his Virginia Golf Club for the top 220 holders of his meme coin. 2 analysis by CNBC and Bloomberg found that at least 19 of the top 25 holders are likely non-Americans. A White House spokesperson told the Wall Street Journal, quote, "President Trump only acts in the best interests of the American public." Administration officials previously denied any conflict of interest, saying the meme coin dinner is an outside business engagement. It is not an official White House event. So, Virginia, what concerns you most about who has bought a seat at the table with Trump?
Well, it's a perfect crypto assets because they lack transparency. It's anonymous financing. They're the perfect vehicle for corruption. And in this case, what's interesting about the meme coin is by itself, it has absolutely no value. It's a digital image. It's sold, I think, at the outset for $7, and then it went up to $79, and then it crashed. I mean, I think some people estimate the losses of individuals at $2 billion. But it's a perfect way to monetize the presidency, and that seems to be what President Trump has done here. He's providing the top 220 investors personal access to him through a private dinner at one of his local golf clubs. I think he also had offered a VIP reception and White House tour to the top 20 donors. I'm not sure what the status of that is, but it's a perfect vehicle for obtaining access to the president.
I will say, I believe that White House tour, I believe, was withdrawn from the whole package deal. Let me get to, though, another New York Times op-ed in which a public policy professor wrote for Trump, quote, "Shamelessness is a superpower. His scandals are out in the open, and he insists they are not scandals at all. Trump's current administration is explicitly personalist. It is built around loyalty to him, even as he blurs his personal interests and public offices." Virginia, do you agree with that opinion? And if so, what is the impact of this sort of transparency?
So I think that, I think the op-ed makes a very valid point. I think the purpose of transparency is to normalize it. In other words, to make it seem like something everybody does, and we should just accept it as part of our, public life. And it's a very, very dangerous as a result. That's why we have to call it out when we see it. We either have to fight corruption or accede to it. We have to either fight for, what we believe in as part of the values of the United States of America, or we're going to accede to a corrupt state of America. We have legislation now pending. You mentioned the crypto assets. We have legislation pending before Congress now that would establish regulatory frameworks under the Genius Act and Market Structuring Act that do fail to address conflicts of interest. And we have to take this on or we will just accede to a corrupt state.
Virginia Cantor, again, author one more time of the New York Times op-ed headlined, "A Plane from Qatar? Come on, man." I just had to say it again. It's great. Thank you so much.